If you believe in Darwinian evolution...
I see we're wasting no time in getting things wrong today, are we, Matt? Believe in Darwinian evolution? No one does that these days because Darwin's work, while extremely important, is no longer what evolution is. There's been over a century and a half of work, and more importantly, progress done in the field of evolution to the point of calling it Darwinian evolution makes zero goddamn sense. But hey, I appreciate your efforts in starting as you mean to go on. That is, being really stupid.
You've been scammed. You've bought into a lie.
Oh look, projection. Never would have expected that from you, Matthew. But yeah, I would argue the exact same to you, that your faith is not true, much like a lie or a scam would be. And that's because it almost certainly is. At least one of those things. But if we knock off the Darwinism and assume that he means evolution, yeah, no, not a scam. The things about scams is that they tend to not be able to do the things that they say they can. Your thing doesn't explain any of the things that it claims to do. Evolution absolutely and rather neatly explains the diversity of life on Earth, but that's only because it absolutely does.
Let me tell you, there is no evidence to suggest that our ancestor was a jellyfish or a rat.
I don't know, Matt. You are technically a human, and yet you're also the biggest fucking rat I have ever seen. You put Splinter to shame. But no, humans weren't rats or jellyfish. They would potentially have been something like those things, but them being the same thing is just not how evolution works. It's amazing that you don't know that. You talk about evolution so much, you would have thought you might have actually learned something about it by now, but learning is for them dumb science guys who know things. Not Matt. Never.
Or some sort of primate.
Let's ignore for a second what he's trying to imply, that humans aren't related to some previous type of primate, and focus on what I couldn't help but allude to with that sentence alone. Some type of primate. Like a fucking human. Literally, your parents were some kind of primate, because a primate describes what humans are, among multiple other species. I can never tell if this shit is you being intentionally deceptive, or if you've genuinely never bothered to learn the meaning of any of the words that you use. Humans are, and always will be, a type of primate. It's the fucking definition of human, you daft frickin' weasel. He could be three things.
The evidence, when we look in science, suggests that we descended from two humans.
From two humans? No, it absolutely fucking doesn't. The evidence suggests that, as with pretty much all species that exist today, that some number of them used to exist once they had speciated into whatever it is they are now, and that's effectively what they come from. Now, if I were a betting boy, I would think you were going to bring up mitochondrial Adam and Eve. But fun fact, if you think they were two people who even met, let alone produced offspring together, you might know even less about science than I thought you didn't. And that's just impressive. I mean, how do you know less than nothing?
We can take our DNA and we can actually trace it back using the Y chromosome and also mitochondrial DNA.
Fucking called it! And it boggles the mind how these guys can take something that scientists who almost certainly understand and accept evolution, something they did, and at no point did any of them jump up and shout, "Holy shit, evolution and fake." But you, of course, assume that because you think it says something that completely destroys the Evolvey boys, that you must be right, never occurring to you that maybe you haven't actually understood what the science says about that subject. It is an astonishing lack of self-awareness. Seriously, there are tumbleweeds that know more about themselves than Matt does.
To see that we descended from two initial ancestors roughly 6,000 years ago.
No. No part of science says anything even remotely like that. What the fuck are you talking about? Mitochondrial Adam and Eve are from like 200,000 years ago. The fuck did you get 6K from? Not any science textbook ever. That's for damn sure. And again, no, humans did not come from the pairing of Mido Boy Eve and Mido Grill Adam. They did not exist at the same time, more than likely, or in the same place, almost definitely. Stop being so fucking wrong.
So, in science, we're finding all sorts of things that actually contradict evolution.
Name fucking one. Seriously. And it can't just be something you obviously didn't understand. Again, don't you think it's weird that the people finding these things out that apparently contradict evolution, none of them, never occurs to any of them that it so obviously makes that thing wrong? You're basically saying that science, we keep finding science that contradicts science. What?
And that disprove evolution.
They absolutely don't, and that's because they don't, and if they did, we would have fucking noticed. Also, even if they did say what you think they do, that still wouldn't disprove evolution. It would only be one specific fact about it that maybe contradicts it. Or hell, doesn't even do that. Lots of things sound like they would contradict some science, but when you look deeper, it turns out they all line up. Science isn't just a game of find one thing and then that science stops being true immediately. It's about a preponderance of evidence, and the fact that there's so much for evolution means it's going to take a lot more than you not understanding one thing to make it just go away.
You think about the Big Bang Theory.
Wait. You think? I don't believe you. How about first you, learn about the Big Bang Theory anyway? If you tried that, actually reading and consuming information and facts about how the universe likely began to expand and take the form that it has today, that would be just fantastic, mate. Then we can work on this whole thinking thing. Although seriously, is he ever going to manage that?
They're claiming that all of the matter that you see, everything around you, was condensed into an infinitely dense hot point.
First off, no. Hot points aren't infinitely dense. They're washing machines. And you could barely fit a duvet set into one, let alone a universe. Second off, the hot, dense point, aka the singularity, while related to the Big Bang, isn't really what the Big Bang describes. The BB Boy describes the expansion of matter after the universe started, and the singularity is our current best understanding for what would have been before that, but is also a simplification of that idea, of what we would expect if you run the universe backward, because the universe is absolutely expanding to this day. For all intents and purposes, the Big Bang is still kind of happening, and if you reverse an expansion, you get a shrinking thing. That's just a fact that the Bible never brings up for some reason. That, of course, must mean that reality is wrong, not a book written by idiots.
And then that hot point somehow exploded.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens. Can you tell I'm not sponsored by them? Not sponsored by anyone, actually. Not for want of them trying to get me to. And I would love to take a sponsorship. Do you know how much money they're worth? But everything is so shit. And it's not about me being principled. It's just the idea of telling you guys to buy something I think is garbage gives me so much anxiety. It's just not worth the stress. And, if any of you really do want to help me out, I don't want you to buy some random tat, but you could sponsor me directly with Patreon or memberships. I would really appreciate it. Plug.
And here we are. It created time, space, and nature.
I don't know if saying the Big Bang created time and space is accurate. It certainly seemingly emerged at the same, time, but that's not strictly the same thing. And that it created nature? Even less so. I mean, nature, for the most part, is the thing that we can study about everything around us. So if there is some kind of beyond the universe or something larger or a different place or whatever, then that would technically be nature too, even if it existed before the whatever that did this universe.
But the fact of the matter is that would be a violation of the laws of thermodynamics. You don't get order out of chaos.
Oh, you fucking dipshit. Yeah, it would. That's part of what makes it so interesting. The universe being so clumped together would break the laws of physics and the rest. It would definitely be really fucking weird in there. And that is exactly what we expect would have happened. But that doesn't change the fact that the evidence that we have absolutely suggests that the universe did start off as a small boy. And don't forget that if these things, like you said, nature came from it, why would they be exactly as they are now back then? The universe itself certainly wouldn't have been stars and galaxies and shit, but more of a big hot space soup before it cooled and settled into these solar systems and galaxies. The fact that it would be different in no way disproves fucking anything.
Not only that, you can't get something from nothing.
Well, Yahweh's going to be real upset to hear that one. That was his whole shtick, that he made the universe appear from absolutely nothing. Are you saying that couldn't have happened? Damn, you're just calling out God like that. And you're right to do so. We all know that he didn't create shit. And that moocher is always taking credit for other people's work. Doctors and rescue workers and me. Who do you really think drowned all those people in the Old Testament, eh?
And energy can only be converted. It cannot be created or destroyed. That's the first law of thermodynamics. So,
well, again, the expansion of that matter and or energy is not the same thing as its initial formation that would have come before that. And again, that's in a universe that's currently, going. Whatever possible thing that happened before that could have or not have any number of specific properties. Again, this is a thing that the scientists who study this shit know. They have heard of thermodynamics and about what we currently understand about the formation of the all. And yet for some reason, they don't seem to be bothered by this apparently devastating problem that you think you have found. Or you haven't, and you are in fact just a fucking idiot. I mean, it stands to reason he's a creationist, for fuck's sake.
to say that you could take a rock that's tiny and let it morph into a rock that's gigantic like a boulder, that's not possible.
Well, actually, it absolutely can. How do you think, sedimentary layers form? It's lots and lots of rocks coming together to form, bigger rocks. And while I understand that's not what your point is actually even fucking dumber. Because the start of the universe wasn't a bunch of teeny tiny rocks. Rock would not be an apt term for anything in the early universe at all. It was matter. Matter that could have become basically anything. Also, the very first moments, there probably wasn't matter at all. Because it would have been pure energy. But I do worry Matt's tiny little mind couldn't comprehend that at all. So we will just stick to the basics that he's wrong about. Fuck knows how wrong he is about the advanced shit. But I'm sure it's a lot.
But in the Big Bang Theory, supposedly a piece of dust, a small speck of dust, exploded or rapidly expanded and formed planets.
It wasn't f***ing dust, Matthew. You need to stop thinking in terms that describe the things around you and start thinking in more technical terms. Not dust, a point. Not rocks, but matter. Not smart, a creationist. Wait, that's from a different list. But you get my point. Which I think you do, and you don't actually care, because this isn't about being accurate, it's about planting ideas that will make your followers go, yeah, that does sound stupid. Because we all know that if you described it properly, the ones who have more than a single brain cell might start to realize that you are full of shit. If they haven't already, of course, shifted from this material realm, so mighty is their intellect compared to your typical fan.
And galaxies and oceans. My friend...
Hey, the Big Bang might have formed galaxies and planets and washing machines, but there's no way you'll get me to believe that it formed you any friends. It's only science, not some fucking magical space field with all-powerful, ever-loving whiskey bottle at its core that could make someone drunk enough to not think you are the world's most insufferable fuckwit.
Darwinian evolution and Big Bang cosmology is all a big farce. It's not true.
Except it absolutely isn't a farce, and they absolutely are, by a wide margin, our best explanations for how things like the universe started, and to explain where all the different animals came from and why. You know what fails to explain those things? The fucking Bible, and any literal interpretation of it, certainly. But that is only because it was written by scientifically illiterate dullards who couldn't figure out what the hell the sky was.
The idea that we descended from slime, that soup was eroded from rocks and we came into existence from that soup.
The fuck has that got to do with evolution or Big Bang cosmology? Always got to be conflating the various sciences. Unless, of course, you think it's a science you like. Then it's nothing to do with those bad, wrong sciences that I don't understand. But these good, correct sciences that I don't understand. But it kind of sounds like they agree with me if I don't actually learn or think about them. They're great.
That's a lie. That's not true.
What, that scientists say that? Yeah, slime and soup, what are you talking about? Life would have formed in, oceans. Oceans, mind, that would have been neither slime nor soup. Again, this is just you putting things in a way to intentionally deceive people rather than be accurate or explain it in any way that might make them go, actually, that kind of makes sense. Ultimately, the only lying here is being done entirely by you, Matthew.
You don't get order out of chaos.
Yeah, in a closed system, that's why the Earth, that gets its energy from the sun, is a pocket of order. Now, the big brainers among you might ask, but isn't the universe a closed system? And you're right, and very attractive too. But this comes back to the whole things were different at the beginning bit. Yet again. And as the start of everything that we know of, it was also in an incredibly low state of entropy. It's been described as a ball sat on top of a mountain. It's there, round, simple, and not very interesting. But one breeze knocks it from its perch, and you could just imagine all the chaos that could come forth from that little guy. Well, the universe was a lot like that low chaos state. So as it spreads out, it could do all sorts of wacky shit like lumping together and forming small pockets of space that allowed for those previously stated pockets of order. Again, this is not a problem if you actually care what the science says.
But you also don't get life from non-living material. You can't get unconscious dead material to just become alive on its own.
And you can't get Matt Powell to actually represent science in anything resembling a fair and accurate fashion, because none of what you said is a problem and only demonstrates that you haven't bothered to actually learn anything about anything. I'm starting to think that you aren't even fucking trying. Oh, that's right, because you aren't.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the